So here's my cutting board. I use this for everything from vegetables, onions, carrot, to pie crust and biscuits. And it's about 15, 17 years old. I made it out of some eucalyptus board. And it's been a great cutting board. I made it wide enough and long enough to take up this part of the counter. It gives me a nice big work area. But it's long overdue for a refinish. So let me show you here. You can see some burn marks. Something was set right there. A lot of knife marks, a little dirt down in there, some more burn marks. But it's a beautiful wood. It's served me well for the past 15 years, but I think it's time. And we're gonna scrape this down and see if we can improve. We're ready now to start scraping. And what I use, this is an old chef's knife, probably 25 years old, we bought years ago in a restaurant. But this makes a good scraping tool. And let me show you. We just start like this, slight angle, and we just start pulling, putting a little pressure on the board. You see what I'm doing? And I can feel the roughness on the board. You can feel it right there, especially where I work mainly really rough. You can feel it as you pull across. And you can see how the board is starting to change complexion as I'm pulling this across. I'm pulling up a lot of oil, grease, dirt that has sunk into the pores over the years. Now you might ask, why scrape it instead of sanding it? Well, sanding is going to get dust everywhere. And you see everything staying right here with me. And it's going to take a good 10 or 15 minutes to scrape this down. But you see, I'm not doing it perpendicular. You just take a little angle like that. Now, as you get more perpendicular with it, you'll take off more of the top. But I start like that and come up a little bit. Now, if you don't have a knife like this, you could use a cabinet scraper. If you got a friend or anything that's a serious woodworker, ask to borrow his cabinet scrapers. They'll work just as well. If you can't find anything like this or a cabinet scraper, go to Ace Hardware, get you a 3-inch chisel point paint scraper. They're about $7, and they'll work just as good also. Let's see what we can do with this burnt ring right here. Guys, you see that burnt mark is disappearing on me? That's what I want. We're gonna scrape this for the next 10 or 15 minutes, then we'll come back. All right, I just wanted to show you here how much we've scraped up off this board. All right, let me clean the board up, and then we'll come back with the next step. Now that we've got our board good and clean, I cleaned it off real good, took a wet sponge, wiped it down real good with a wet sponge. And you want to do a wet sponge because that will cause any loose fibers in the wood to stand up. And we're going to sand it now with a 400 grit sandpaper. All right, so I'm going to start sanding here, because right now you can feel it. All those little fibers and everything we loosened up, or some that were loose, are standing up now, and you can feel them on the board. So I'm going to do about 5 minutes of this sanding here, and then we'll come back for the next step. Now that we've finished with our 400 grit sandpaper, I'm going to take a wet sponge and we're going to dampen the surface real good. Again, any loose fibers I want to stand up, so when we're fixing to do our final sanding with 1000 grit, and we'll get rid of those any loose fibers. Anyway, you're going to wet this down real good, let it dry, and then we'll be back. Our board is good and dry now. Run my hand across, you can really feel those fibers sticking up where the water brought them up, which is what we want now, because we're going to hit it with 1000 grit sandpaper, and hopefully that'll sand it smooth. So let's get started. And I'm going to finish this and we'll be back shortly. We finished our 1000 grit sanding, and I'm going to tell you one thing right now, it is glass smooth. That will help immensely with the pie crust, rolling out dumplings, and even with the biscuits. One last thing now is some Howard's Butcher Block conditioner, and we're going to spread this out on and rub this in real good. What the butcher block conditioner will do, it keeps the wood from drying out and cracking. And that will be our final step. Let me rub this in and we'll be back. Now, remember, this is what we started with. And here, after the oil, you can see the difference that is made. The colors have just popped, the grain stands out. We've effectively removed all the dirt and grime and sanitized this board, and it should be ready for several more years of use. In the words of Rosebud Stevens, sweetly be.